Cyber 202, Database Fundamentals, 8731. Week 7 assignment, SRBU Physical Database. My name is Javier Gonzalez. This assignment will be counting as the midterm evaluation. I'll be demonstrating the implementation of the database model that I've been working for the last few weeks using MySQL. I'll be creating the database, creating tables, entering synthetic data, running some queries to demonstrate that the database works. Before we go into the MySQL workbench, let's review very quickly what the problem statement is and what we built thus far. Problem statement, we have a company that specializes in travel, specifically vacation, that provides services to students. They have a manual process today and they're looking to come up to speed with the industry standards. So they're looking to transition into a web-based platform. The new system needs to be able to streamline the bookings, the payments, and the customer management, improve the operational efficiency, and enhance engagement through integrated network features. We build a model that contains 15 databases, I should say tables, entities, and these entities have several properties and they're linked, some of them together for efficiency, and that's what we are going to be demonstrating today. Here is the ERD. We see the central table in the booking, and we'll have a number of different other supporting tables for the booking activities. That includes flights, resorts, activities, rental car, and packages. Let's jump into the creation of the database. For this exercise, I created several scripts to streamline the process. You could either do this manually, which is very manually intensive, or you can create the scripts and then running the queries individually or the whole script. For the first part, for creating the database and creating the tables, I will create one by one and demonstrating that they're there. Then we'll go into the synthetic data piece of it. We'll run the whole thing. So for expediency purposes, and I'll show all the information that we have there related to resorts, flights, locations, students, and so on and so forth. And last, we'll run a series of queries to validate the information is within the tables, as well as at the proper joining of the tables to get the results that we expect. So let's start by creating the database and making sure that we set that as the one. In this case, in the script, through MySQL Workbench, I will go ahead and execute that portion only of the script. And you can see in the bottom part that those are executed. In order to see this in the schemas, we need to just refresh this area so we can actually see that we have that. You can see right now there's nothing in tables. This is an empty database. We'll move on and to create all the tables. Like I said, we have 15 tables in all. I'll create probably the first 3 of them and show that they're there, and then we'll run the rest of the script for expediency purposes. So again, like in the previous one, we'll just select the part of the script that we need in order to create that first table. That will be the location table. And we go ahead and run it. We confirmation down in the output that has been created. Again, we refresh. And now we can see that we have the arrow. We got our first table in. We can go and look the table, and we can see that that table contains the location ID, the city, the state, and the country. Go next, go to the airport table. We run that one, and we have a little error here because we highlighted the wrong piece of the script. We'll go again and run it, and we can see now it's done correctly. Now we will refresh, and now we have our airport table. Now we'll go to the airline. Again, we highlight the right portion of the script. We run it, we see it's all done. Now we can go and refresh again, and we can see that. Now for expediency, now we're going to go all the way down to make sure that we have that. Well, actually, I'm going to stop here because I want to show something here before the student table that I did to get some checks. So we'll get this piece right here. We'll get the rest of the script here up to this point, and we're going to run it. We got all the tables there. We can refresh, and we can see all the tables that were created. Now we have the student table. The student table will actually have date of birth. I decided to do something here extra and make sure that the date of birth cannot be used with the current date or future date. So actually we get a value that is real and valid. Created basically constraint to make sure that this is done. There's no good way to do that directly with MySQL. So you have to use a delimiter and create a trigger to make sure. So I created two triggers. I created one to make sure that when you are creating, entering data, you basically not allowed to put today's date or a date of the future. And then if you are updating the table, that also through the update process, you're not able to actually put a present date or future date into it. So let's go ahead and run this portion of the script. And you can see it's created. Now we have that. What that happens is now that MySQL knows that when information is entered there, this is stored in the schema of SBRU, you cannot use the today's date, whatever today it is, at the moment that you're doing it, either at creating a new record or updating the record. Now we're going to finish this portion, run the rest that we have here, and last we will do a quick check on what we've done up to this point. Get that, all the tables. Let's just do a quick check. You can see here, we're going to validate that we have created indeed 15 tables here. So we're going to run this right here, and we're going to run it. And we run that query, and you can see that we have a total of 15 tables. Now we're going to move into the creation of the or the insertion of the data. We are going to make sure that we get everything else. The first thing is to make sure that we are selecting the right database. In this case, SBRU. We're going to put data here. I use a combination of different things in myself and some generation tools that I used in the past for synthetic data. These things are pretty basic. So you can see for location, we got city, state, and country. We decided to have at least 10 destination vacation places. That will be places like Fort Lauderdale, Panama City Beach, Daytona Beach, Cancun, Maui, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Ocho Rios in Jamaica, Miami, Orlando, Las Vegas, San Jose, Costa Rica, and Cabo San Lucas. So we got a total of 22 locations. Each location has an associated airport, at least one. Some places may have more than one. If case in point, if you're in New York City, decided to have two, so you'll have JFK and Newark and so on and so forth, and you get all the different places that you need, to associate it with the locations that you're visiting. Same thing with airlines. I cap it at 5 airlines. I created flight routes that give you choices when you're creating packages. People can select, from their destination. May have an early morning or midday or later day type flight. I got all the destinations, as I said, here before, and they have associated. So we got all bogus information, obviously, here, all created. So we got some of the information just to test that this is valid. In terms of the resorts, also we have for all the destinations, we got the location, the name of the resort, what's the rating, this is something that was in the requirement, what's the rate for this, because we have to calculate the amount and how much the total package will be, what type of amenities they have, and whether they have meeting places. This is something that the company is looking to leverage, providing this information real time using social media in the future. Then obviously have rental cars. This is optional, but should the student wants to have an adventure and rent a car or whatnot, we're also providing cars and some samples here, different type of vehicles and prices per day. We also have the students. We are collecting a lot of information for students. Probably a bit overkill for this prototype, but it's probably better having more than less in this case. So we capture all the information for the students. We also have groups, because in some instances you are creating groups. So you may have groups that have 2, 3, 5, 10 students in it. Should they go that route? We have some information for linking tables that we're using in order to keep track. That will be things like packages and groups, and so on. Then type of packages, have a table for that, with name, flight route, resort, description, and so on and so forth. Packages, as per the requirements initially, they just want to make sure that they are just composed by a flight and a resort. So we didn't extend that, beyond that. Probably in the future will contain things like activities and other things, and maybe rent a cars in it. But for now, it's just those two things. Then we have the bookings, which is our main table. Contains all the different things that we need there, like the package ID, the route, the flights, resort, rental, if they have one, the date, and the total cost. We have some stuff here for making sure that we don't have any null entries for students. While doing some testing, if you don't have enough, it was just doing sequentially, because obviously we're just not putting any programming behind this, but these are things that the front end team will take care of it. But for now, for the demonstration, just making sure that things are randomly assigned to the bookings in terms of the students, and then the payments. So without further ado, we'll just run this whole monster query to get all the data inside the tables. And we can see here, it runs everything, it's green, no issues. So now we go into the verification of the information. First part we're going to run is just to make sure that, that we have the tables, that we have that already. We'll run it again just to make sure that we have the piece done. And you can see here, we got all our tables and names associated with it. We're going to run the next one. We want to run a BAC query to demonstrate that information was inserted successfully. While we have confirmation when we ran the insertion queries, we'll do this and we'll get some information back just to make sure. So now we have that. We run 3 different queries. So we're going to go into see the student. You can see here we got the information about the student. Everything that is supposed to be there. There's certain fields that are null because we decided in some instances they may not have a phone, just a mobile number. Same thing with a secondary email. So it makes sense that those fields could be nullable. The bookings, we got this. This is not display. It's displayed just with the numbers. When we get to join the tables, we'll be actually see names and different things. But since these things are foreign keys and whatnot, in some of these ones, they're pulling from another table until we get that function. We're not going to be makes much sense of these things. But we can validate here that information is within the table. And again, like in the previous, since rental cars is an optional thing, not every booking will have a car associated with it. The last one, is the payment. Again, we can see some of this information just using integers, just because these things are foreign keys, so it's going to show just what the true value is. Until we do the joining, we won't see this information. Later on, we'll see, and will make more sense. But you can see the amount, the payment date, the credit card completed, and then I also created a transaction ID, making sure that we associated that with the SBRU, and then whatever transaction number follows, and that is sequential. Let's go to the next piece. We're going to run this query. This is to ensure that airports and airlines are properly linked. So let's see what we get. So we can see here flights. We got a flight number, the origin airport, the destination airport, what's the airline, and then the departure and arrival times. As I mentioned before, this is all bogus. I didn't go and extract information from the airlines itineraries. I just made these things up. Let's go to the next one. We're going to check, for resorts. So we're going to select that piece. Just make sure that we have valid locations and contains the correct pricing. So let's go ahead and run that. You can see here we got different ones. Got all these different places that go and associate it with different places. So we can see the name of the resort and the city, the country, as we have some internationals, based on what the query, and obviously we're selecting just a sample, but you can see the information that we get out of that. Important to know that these things that I failed to mention before. Let me go back, really quick. How do we test the relationships, with one another and whatnot? So when we join the tables, this is how we test actually the relationships that we have with these things and whatnot. So given that for the airports and the airlines, when we're doing flight routes, you may have, say, in the case of the airlines, you will have the same airline repeated or whatnot. We create aliases, as a placeholder. So when we join these things, we're assigning those aliases. We're able to actually pull from the airports and whatnot, and that's how we actually treat those things. But this right here, if you look, we're joining, this one right here, airport, and we're saying exactly what is the what we're intending to do with this. Like A1 is getting, the origin airport ID would be, this alias airport ID, so on for this one, and last but not least, kind of like the actual airline. We're joining that with airline, and we're looking at showing that we have this information from another table, and we bring it up, through the joining of the tables. Same thing here. We're going to go now to the rental cars. This right here we run to make sure that we have that information, and we can see here companies, the airport. I consciously made only association of rental cars with airports, as students will be flying into, a place, and that's the place where they're going to, be staying. So I guess in the future this can be extended if they have like rental offices at the hotels and whatnot, but that will be something for future. But for now, all the rental cars are associated with airport. You got type and daily rates associated with each of this one. Also giving the type, so it makes sense, for people that are looking for, say for instance, a sedan, or they're looking for an SUV or economy car and whatnot. They get the right rates associated with the cars. We move now to the next section. I'm going to check the ability to make bookings, which is the main function for this project. We verify bookings are correctly associated with students, packages, flight resorts, and rental cars. Keep in mind that rental cars are optional. So let's go ahead and run this query. We're limiting this to return only 15 records. We run it. We can see here, have those associated with booking ID 1. That's the package. Same thing here. We can see the ones here. Again, this is all bogus data, so we're just demonstrating the capabilities of this. As in the other ones, you can see here, we use the joint statements, and we're using the different tables, looking for those same properties, which we leverage throughout the database to get the results that we're looking for. So the bookings table, all good. We go to now verifying the payments when booking a vacation. Data that we injected in here. We have different choices for the status and whatnot. For most of them, I just use completed, so it's likely that we're only going to see that. but the different options that being given, given the choices that you can have for some of this stuff. So let's go ahead and run this. We can see that we only asked for returning 5. Again, the way that we keep all the relationships is joining tables using the same basically fields that we leverage from one to another. In some cases, one to many, many to many, which are were described in the documents provided in previous weeks. Here are the results. We got the name, last name, the ID, and the amount that they paid, for these things. Now we are going to move into the next query to validate. We're going to look here those bookings that they don't have rent a car. So we're looking for booking IDs that they won't have a car associated with it. So let's go ahead and run it. And as you can see, we get then all the bookings that we have inside that actually have no associated car. We return the first and last name, the flight number, and then the resort that they staying at. One of the things that SBRU is looking for is the capability of leveraging social media. So one of the things that they mentioned in the requirements is the ability to actually see when students are at the same place. So this query aims to show students that are at the same resort at the same time. So we're going to run that. Let's see. So we can see here we got John Doe and Emily, here and the dates. So these are all the different ones that we have. And then it's kind of like repeat, goes, one sequentially, and all the other ones. So if we extend this query, that'll go everything that Emily is associated. So expected that the rest, will repeat itself. But that's information valuable for SBRU, knowing which are the students that are staying in the same resort at the same time. Moving on, there's another one, could be used for marketing purposes. Limited just to one, but let's go ahead and maybe make it 2. This is basically to see what are the most popular destinations that they have people booking at their site. So let's run that. We can see that Daytona Beach is the most popular with 3 bookings, and Panama City with 1, with 2, I should say. Okay, we're moving to the last piece of this validation, which is making sure that we have the right amount of records. We know we inserted 17 students, 22 locations, 33 resorts, and 22 airports. We want to run this query to validate that those are the expected values that we have there. So we're going to run that. And as expected, we can see that those numbers match as we configure the database. With this, we conclude the demonstration, and this should be a fully functional database that SBRU could use to implement their new web system to book vacations online. Thank you very much.